remember staring at that photo invitation on my phone, waves crashing in the background like some perfect escape, and my boss's words echoing, "This is just a weekend on my yacht. No one will know if you don't tell." But that promise of secrecy flipped everything when I realized his wife had eyes on me, turning luxury into a trap. And that's when the paranoia hit hard, making me question every glance in the office. And I'm a 31-year-old PR specialist at a mid-sized marketing agency in San Diego, pulling in about $75,000 a year, which sounds decent until you factor in the rent and the endless deadlines that leave me wiped out by Friday. I've been single since a messy breakup 6 months ago, and honestly, the ocean breeze wafting through the office windows every morning is the only thing that reminds me there's life beyond spreadsheets and client calls. That breeze, salty and fresh, always carried a hint of freedom, but lately, it's just amplified my exhaustion, making me dream of something more glamorous, like those yacht weekends the higher-ups whisper about. And it started innocently enough, or so I thought. One afternoon, as I was wrapping up a campaign pitch, my phone buzzed on the desk, vibration cutting through the hum of keyboards around me. I glanced down and saw the message from the CEO, Mark, attaching that photo of his yacht docked under sunny skies, waves gently lapping in the image. "Join me this weekend? You deserve a break after that killer presentation." My heart skipped a beat. It felt like a nod to my hard work, but deep down, a tiny voice whispered caution. After all, Mark was married, and office rumors had swirled about his generous gestures before. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a perk, it was loaded. I sat there, the scent of sea salt from the open window mixing with my coffee, making the invitation feel almost tangible. But paranoia crept in fast. Why me, specifically? I'd noticed his lingering looks in meetings, but brushed them off as professional admiration. Now with that photo staring back, it felt personal, risky. I tried to shake it off, focusing on my screen, but my mind raced to worst-case scenarios. A couple hours later, things escalated with an anonymous call, my phone ringing just as the office was emptying out. The voice on the other end was muffled, like they were covering the receiver. "Don't go on that yacht. His wife knows and she's hired a PI to watch you." Click. No more details, just that hanging silence. My palms went clammy, a cold sweat breaking out as I gripped the phone tighter. Who was that? A colleague? A friend of the family? The paranoia surged, making every shadow in the emptying office feel like eyes on me. And BUT? I pushed through the day, telling myself it was probably a prank. That evening, alone in my apartment overlooking the bay, I replayed the message in my head while the distant horn of a ship echoed from the harbor. Deep, ominous, like a warning. It matched the gulls crying outside, amplifying my unease. I scrolled back to the photo invitation, zooming in on those waves, wondering if this was my ticket out of the grind or straight into trouble. NTHE next morning, back at the office, the breeze felt heavier, laced with that same salty tang that now turned my stomach. I couldn't focus, jumping at every email ping. And then Mark cornered me in the break room, casual as ever. "So, about the yacht, don't be paranoid, it's just a thank you for your loyalty." His smile didn't reach his eyes, and that phrase hit like a gut punch, toxic in its dismissal. It made me wonder how many others he'd said that Team Paranoia was building, and I knew I had to dig deeper. But first I had to act normal, smiling through meetings, while my mind screamed alerts. The office felt like a pressure cooker by Thursday, every clack of keyboards sounding like a ticking clock. I was in the conference room for a client debrief, surrounded by colleagues, when Mark decided to make it public. He leaned across the table, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "So you're joining me on the yacht this weekend, right? It's the least we can do for our star PR." The room went quiet. Pens stopped scratching, and I felt every pair of eyes drilling into me. My face burned, the fluorescent lights overhead suddenly too bright, like a spotlight exposing me. NTHAT was the moment I knew this wasn't just about me anymore. The public nudge, his smug grin, it was a power play, and I was caught in the open. I mumbled something about needing to check my schedule, my fingers nervously tapping the edge of my notebook, its paper rough under my touch. But inside, my stomach churned, the memory of that anonymous call looping in my head. His wife's PI was out there, maybe watching right now, and Mark was setting me up to look complicit. And back at my desk, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The ocean breeze through the window, once comforting, now carried a chill that matched the cold sweat on my neck. That's when my phone pinged again, not Mark this time, but an email from an unknown sender. Attached was a grainy photo of a man in a gray hoodie, snapping pictures outside our office building. The caption read, "He's watching you, don't go." My heart thudded so loud, I swore it echoed in the open plan office. That photo was the first real proof, and it turned my paranoia into something solid, something I couldn't ignore. And I forwarded the email to myself, saving it in a hidden folder, my hands shaking as I typed. But then Mark walked by, pausing at my desk with that same fake smile. "Don't let small-town gossip ruin a good time," he said, his voice low but sharp, like a blade wrapped in velvet. Another toxic jab, dismissing my instincts as if I was overreacting. I nodded, forcing a smile, but my mind was racing. He knew about the rumors, maybe even the PI, and he was daring me to flinch. NTHAT night. I sat in my apartment, the harbor ship horn sounding again, low and mournful through the open window. I kept staring at that yacht photo on my phone, its waves now looking like a warning rather than an escape. I couldn't go, not with a PI tailing me, not with Mark's wife ready to pounce, but backing out meant risking his favor, maybe even my job. The agency was cutthroat. I'd seen colleagues sidelined for less. I needed a plan, and fast. I reached out to Sarah, our HR representative, and the only person I trusted not to spill. Over coffee at a crowded Starbucks the next morning, the smell of roasted beans grounding me, I showed her the email and the photo. Her eyes widened, but she stayed calm. "This is serious," she whispered, glancing around like the PI might be at the next table. "If you don't go, you need a solid excuse, and we need to document everything." That was my lifeline, an ally who saw the trap for what it was. Sarah's advice gave me clarity, but the paranoia didn't let up. Every car parked too long outside my apartment, every stranger lingering near the office, felt like a threat. I kept the yacht photo on my phone, a reminder of the bait I'd almost taken. But now I had a choice: play along and risk a scandal, or fight back and risk my career. Either way, I was walking a tightrope, and the salty air outside my window wasn't calming me anymore. It was a reminder of how close I'd come to drowning. By Friday, I was a wreck, jumping at every notification, my paranoia turning the office into a maze of hidden threats. I decided to cancel the yacht trip, texting Mark a vague excuse about a family emergency. His reply came fast. "Family, huh? Don't let fear run your life." The words stung, another toxic jab that made me feel small, like I was betraying his trust. But I wasn't falling for it, not with that PI photo burning a hole in my inbox. And I met Sarah again, this time in the HR office after hours, the hum of the AC, the only sound breaking the silence. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows, making the room feel colder than it was. I showed her the text exchange with Mark, along with the anonymous email and the PI's photo. She leaned back, her chair creaking, and said, "This is enough to start a paper trail, but you need more if we're going to HR formally." That's when it hit me. I had to protect myself, not just dodge the trip. NTHAT evening, I started digging. Back at my apartment, the harbor ship horn blared again, its deep tone syncing with my racing pulse. I combed through my work emails, looking for anything off. Maybe a pattern in Mark's messages. That's when I found it. An older email thread where he'd casually mentioned weekend getaways to another female colleague who'd since left the agency. The wording was too similar to mine, like a script he'd reused. My hands went cold, the mouse slippery under my fingers as I saved screenshots. NBUT, the real bombshell came at midnight. My phone lit up with another anonymous email, this one with a forwarded message from Mark's wife Claire to an unknown contact. "If she goes, I'll ruin her career. It's not a game." The venom in those words made my throat tighten. It was proof she was orchestrating this, not just suspecting me. The email included a time-stamped photo of me leaving the office, taken from across the street. I could almost hear the camera shutter click in my head, a sound that made my skin crawl. NTHE next morning. I walked into the office like nothing was wrong, but the salty breeze from the window felt suffocating now, like it was carrying Claire's threat. I kept my head down, but paranoia had me glancing at every coworker, wondering who might be feeding her information. Then came the public moment that sealed it. During a team huddle in the main conference room, Mark singled me out again, his voice booming. "Some people let fear stop them from opportunity. Don't be that person." The room froze, colleagues exchanging glances, and I felt the weight of their judgment like a physical force. My cheeks flushed, the air thick with the scent of printer ink and tension. NTHAT was my breaking point. I couldn't keep playing defense. After the meeting, I pulled Sarah aside in the hallway, the carpet muffling our steps. I showed her the new email, Claire's threat staring back at us in black and white. Sarah's face hardened. "This is harassment," she said. "We can file a formal complaint, but it's your call." That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just saving myself, I was exposing a pattern. I spent the rest of the day gathering evidence. Screenshots of Mark's texts, the yacht photo, the anonymous emails, even notes from that colleague who'd left. Every click felt like defiance, but the paranoia lingered. Every creak of the office floorboards made me think the PI was closer. The yacht, once a symbol of escape, was now a trap I'd narrowly avoided. But I wasn't safe yet. Claire's threat loomed, and Mark's influence in the agency was ironclad. I needed to move carefully, but I was done being the prey. With Sarah's backing, I decided to act, but every step felt like walking through a minefield. That afternoon, I drafted an official complaint in a quiet corner of the office, the hum of the copier nearby masking my nervous typing. I attached everything. Mark's texts, the yacht photo, the anonymous emails, and Claire's chilling threat to ruin my career. My hands shook as I hit send to HR, the click of the mouse sounding final, like a door slamming shut. But I wasn't done. I needed to protect myself from retaliation. Sarah suggested looping in an external lawyer friend of hers, someone outside the agency's influence. We met at a diner across town that evening, the greasy smell of fries grounding me as I laid out the evidence. The lawyer, Jen, scanned the documents under the diner's dim neon lights, her expression grim. "This is solid," she said, "but Mark's got connections. You need to be ready for pushback." That was my first real countermove, bringing in someone who could shield me if things went south. Then things did go south. Fast. The next day, I got a call from HR requesting a meeting. Walking into that conference room felt like stepping into a courtroom, the air heavy with the scent of stale coffee and tension. Mark was there, sitting across from me, his face unreadable. The HR director, Karen, started with, "We take these allegations seriously, but let's keep this professional." Then Mark leaned forward, his voice dripping with fake concern. "You're blowing this out of proportion." It was just a friendly gesture. Another toxic jab, gaslighting me in front of everyone. My stomach twisted, but I held my ground, sliding printed copies of the emails across the table. That's when I realized I had leverage. Karen's eyes widened as she read Claire's threat, and Mark's jaw tightened. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the AC, and I could feel the shift, like the tide turning. Sarah backed me up, pointing out the pattern with the former colleague, and Jen had prepped me to stay calm, factual. I wasn't just fighting for me anymore. I was exposing a system that let this slide. NBY, the end of the week, the agency launched an internal investigation. Whispers spread through the office like wildfire, colleagues avoiding my desk, the ocean breeze now feeling like a cold slap. But then came the turn, an anonymous tip to a local San Diego news blog, linking Mark's yacht perks to other complaints. I don't know who sent it, maybe Sarah, maybe another colleague, but it lit the fuse. The blog post went live, naming no names but hinting at a CEO's inappropriate incentives. Social media picked it up, and suddenly Mark was on damage control. And Claire's plan backfired too. Her PI's photos, meant to trap me, were turned over to the agency's legal team, proving she'd orchestrated a harassment campaign. The yacht, that shiny symbol of Mark's power, became his downfall. Every mention of it in the news tied back to his overreach. I sat in my apartment that night, the harbor ship horn sounding distant but triumphant, like a signal that I'd made it through. NTHE investigation wrapped up in 2 weeks. Mark was asked to step down, a polite way of saying he was out. Claire's threats fizzled when her own actions came under scrutiny, her reputation taking the hit instead of mine. I felt a weight lift, the paranoia finally easing as I walked into the office without fear of whispers or cameras. The yacht photo stayed on my phone, no longer a trap but a reminder of what I'd dodged. I'd taken back control, but the cost was high. Trust in the workplace, gone. Still, I'd won, and that victory tasted sweeter than any weekend on the water could have. After Mark's exit, the office wasn't the same. The salty breeze still rolled through the windows, but it carried a new weight. Like the air itself knew things had shifted. I kept my head down, focusing on campaigns. But colleagues' sideways glances lingered, some impressed, others wary. I'd exposed the golden boy, and while it felt like a win, it also left me isolated. like I'd painted a target on my back. The yacht photo, still on my phone, wasn't just a symbol of the trap anymore. It was proof I'd outsmarted it. Sarah became my rock, checking in over coffee runs. The smell of espresso a small comfort in the chaos. She'd heard rumors of other women Mark had approached, some who'd left quietly, others who'd stayed silent. That knowledge fueled me. I wasn't just saving myself, but breaking a cycle. I started looking for new jobs, knowing I couldn't stay in a place where every meeting room reminded me of that public call-out. The fluorescent lights, once oppressive, now just felt tired, like the agency itself. A month later, I got a call from a rival firm in La Jolla offering a senior PR role with a $90,000 salary, a step up. They'd heard about the scandal, not the details, but enough to know I was someone who could handle pressure. I took the job, packing up my desk on a quiet Friday, the sound of my heels clicking on the hardwood floor echoing like a final goodbye. I left the yacht photo in my digital trash, deleted but not forgotten, a reminder of how close I'd come to losing everything. And Claire faded from the picture too. The local news blog kept digging, uncovering her role in hiring the PI, and social media did the rest. Her threats, once so terrifying, became her own undoing when former colleagues started sharing their own stories online, anonymously of course, but enough to tarnish her. The harbor ship horn, which I'd once dreaded, now sounded like closure when I heard it from my new apartment, closer to the beach and farther from the agency's drama. Looking back, the paranoia that gripped me was both my enemy and my guide. It kept me sharp, made me question the shiny bait Mark dangled. I learned to trust my gut, to see through friendly gestures that come with strings. But it wasn't easy. Every step felt like a gamble, every email a potential landmine. I'd won, sure, but at the cost of sleepless nights in a workplace I'd once loved. The victory was mine, but it was bittersweet, like the salty air that no longer felt like freedom. I'm settling into my new job now, building a reputation from scratch. The ocean's still out there, visible from my new office, but I don't dream of yachts anymore. I dream of stability, of workplaces where power isn't a weapon. Sarah and I still talk, and she's pushing for better HR policies at the old agency, using my case as leverage. It's a small ripple, but maybe it'll grow. The yacht, that glittering trap, is just a story now, one I tell to warn others. NBUT. Here's the thing. I still wonder about that anonymous tipster, the one who warned me about the PI. Was it a colleague? Someone closer to Claire? I'll probably never know, but their warning saved me. It makes me think about the risks we take when we speak up, or stay silent. So, Ruditz, I'm curious. Have you ever turned down a too-good-to-be-true offer because your gut screamed no? What would you have done in my shoes? Taken the yacht trip, or fought back like I did? Let me know, because I'm still piecing together what this all means.